You're going to need a good swatch to start with, so pick your favorite needles, your favorite yarn, whatever you want to use, and knit yourself a swatch. You're going to need stitches per inch and row per inch. When you've done that, you're ready to do the math to cast on.
Okay, so let's calculate what we need for our cast on. I'm working with a neck of opening of 8 inches. I'm working with a back neck drop of 2 inches. Back neck drop is how much you want the back neck curved. I like 2 inches. It works for me. It's really comfortable. You do what you'd like. Stitches per inch, 5 1/4. Row per inch, 7. Make sure you make a good swatch so your numbers are good. I'm going to calculate how many stitches I need for my cast on. Take the neck, which is 8 inches, and you multiply it times the stitches per inch. Then you're going to add to that the drop times stitches per inch. Now remember, if I do this for my neck width, this is a shorter distance than this. So I'm taking the 2-inch drop and I'm turning it into, how many stitches is that? It's going to be 10.5 stitches. So 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 1/4 is 2, so that's 42. We're going to add that to our so I've got 52.5. Can't do a half a stitch. So now here's the key. If you are doing your rows of ribbing and you are going to be taking those 6, you're going to take your 6 rows and you're going to pick up 6 stitches at the end. So if you add 2 stitches, that is going to give you a column on each end where you can pick up 1 leg of the stitch and get your 6 stitches. That'll fold that selvage end underneath to the back side and it will look better. So let's say we're going to drop this, and that makes our cast on 54 inches. So that's what we're going to work with. Let's start there. So Conti something is interesting stuff, and the latest iteration I have going I like really well. And here's how it works. First you do the cast on. When I do my cast on, I'm doing a section of ribbing like this. At the end of that ribbing, to make the start of the shoulder, which is going to be right here, easier to do, I've got a couple columns of stockinette. Sometimes 2, sometimes 3, sometimes 4. So I want you to understand that this is a really flexible thing. So my shoulders come out here. So I've done this is my 1x1 rib. I've done 2x2 rib, but 1x1 rib actually looks a little better. The next thing I do is I pick up the same number of stitches here that I have rows of ribbing. So say I have 6 rows of ribbing here, I'm going to pick 6 stitches up here, and this is going to be, when it's knit up, this is going to be the front facing for the front of the garment. So this is the very first thing you're going to do to get the party started. 6 rows of 1x1 ribbing, 3 stitches at each end is going to be stockinette. So this will be stockinette, and that's where you're going to start. So once you've done your ribbing and you've picked up on each end, you want to pick up those 6 stitches so that you've got them the same on each end. This is your springboard for starting the Conti something sweater. Okay, let's check back in on this for a minute. I've got my 54 stitches done. I'm going to do 3 stitches of stockinette. I'm going to do 1 by 1 rib and 3 stitches of stockinette. So this is my cast on. Now here's the ticket. If you're doing 1 by 1 rib, you're going to need a purl row here, purl column here, and a purl column here, which means this part of the cast on is not going to work if it's an even number of stitches. So I've got my 54 stitches done, but I'm going to add 1 so that I get an odd number for this section of 1 by 1 rib. So let me get that done, and I will get this knit up, and we will come back and talk about picking up the edge stitches. Okay, I have my cast on done. This is 6 rows, and the last row is knit. I have 2 little DPNs here. You can use anything you like. When I knit, I do not slip a selvage stitch. I've got a cast on and 5 finished rows. This is my 6th row. I've got 5 finished rows, so I actually have 6 legs here I can pick up, 1 on the cast on and the 5 rows above it. I've got one end picked up. I wanted to show you this. Selvage is a little difficult to read, but here is the stitch. This is the very end of the row. So I'm going to pick up the leg nearest the work. For every stitch. Now I've got to include the stitch for the cast on, and that's this one right here. Now, when I start knitting from here, when I start my first row, I won't have, because I picked up a stitch on the cast on row, I won't have a jog here where my collar, my back collar and my front facing meet. It'll be a continuous, it'll be really pretty. I have my markers. I'm going to set the shoulder markers, and then we're going to stop and do a little bit more math. We need to calculate where the short row turn markers are going to be set for the back neck. For the shoulder markers, which are these unique markers, I'm going to set them 1 stitch in on each end. Alright, my shoulder markers are set, and let's stop and do some math so we can set our markers, our short row turn markers for shaping our back neck.